It's my real pleasure to have Roger Squitero out at my house in Montvale, New Jersey, to talk about his career, a very long and fruitful career. I met Roger probably around 1977 when I was making a recording in the basement of my house. Roger calls himself a jack of all trades, and I, in my opinion, think he's a master of all of them. Tell me something about your career.
Well, I've been in New York now for about 30 some years. Like you said, we met just about when I came to New York from San Francisco. And I've always just been fascinated by all kinds of percussion. Not just one particular style. I like Afro-Cuban, Brazilian, African, Asian. Any kind of percussive style has always intrigued and amazed me. So I've tried to absorb as much as I can from various styles around the world. I haven't focused on just one particular style, which obviously you can do a whole lifetime in one particular vein, but that's not my approach. I've always just wanted to absorb as much as I could and let it all mix up inside me and then bring it out in a musical context.
And of course, you've made that decision. You're going to make a living from this and not just stand on art alone, and you have done very nicely at that. Now, right now, in October 2006, you're working in what looks to be a long-run play on Broadway, Tarzan. Tell me about how you bring your experience to the show.
Yeah, the music was written by Phil Collins, and it's the play is set in Africa in the late 1800s. So what Phil did was write a score that was really an Afro-pop score. And in terms of my part, he often left it to me to come up with a groove and a part. So what I tried to do is really just find a particular rhythm that worked for a particular song or a particular piece that we were doing, and without trying to find any specific rhythm, just find a rhythm that I felt worked. And so oftentimes I would blend certain styles together, American pop, R&B style with an African or a Latin groove, and just try to meld it to actually make that particular piece work.
Does it mean that you actually created the part yourself?
Yeah, sometimes it does mean that I actually just created a rhythm, that it's not a standard rhythm, but it's a hybrid.
Okay, Roger, I'd like to give me a demonstration of some of the rhythms that you've put together for this highly successful show, Tarzan, on Broadway.
Okay.
Roger, another experience that I know you're very proud of is having worked with the late, great Luther Vandross. And for that kind of music, you called upon a different set of disciplines, I suppose, for performing with an R&B soul singer.
Absolutely. Luther was a perfectionist, and every night we performed, we had to sound like a record, and we did. And in that sense, it was a lot like doing a Broadway show where you're playing the exact same part night after night, because everything has been so specifically worked out to be just the perfect groove that Luther and his musical director Nat Adderley, an arranger, wanted. So it did require a tremendous amount of discipline, one, to just be perfect night after night. And I learned so much about precision, and also in terms of bringing the right color at the right moment. And it wasn't really about just the most the deepest groove I could think of, but sometimes it was just the most simplest thing as a triangle hit in the right place, or a wind chime at the very right place, or a shaker groove, a 16th note shaker groove, where the drum part is very sparse and you just have to be so specifically perfect and in time. But it was a tremendous learning experience for me in many ways, and also finding R&B grooves are different than Latin grooves. So, you know, oftentimes your groove will be working much like what a trap drummer's playing on the, you're hitting the one and the, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, back, go, do, back, as opposed to laying on the other side of the bar with like a Latin or African groove.
Well, Roger, I'd like you to give me a demonstration of some of the patterns that you played with Luther Vandross.
All right.
Back in 1979, 78, when I met you doing the recording in my house for Alfredo, I came to realize that you were quite a specialist in Brazilian percussion. I would appreciate it if you tell me something of that background.
Well, Brazilian music has always been just really in my heart. I've always loved it so much, and the tradition is so rich rhythmically. And I was fortunate enough when I moved to New York to study with Daum Ramau. But even before I came to New York, when I was in San Francisco, there was a really rich Brazilian music scene there, as well as a Latin music scene, as you know. But when I came, I sought out Daum, who was I really admired, and I studied with him and learned a lot of the basics. So I have the basics under my belt, and like I said, I don't consider myself a master in any of these techniques, but I can bring a Brazilian feel to most music.
Roger, you are too modest. I disagree and think you are quite the master at all you do. I'd like you to give me a bit of a demonstration of some of your approach to Brazilian music.
All right, I have a pandero here we can do something with.
Thanks a lot.